Bungie has made Void Titans absolute juggernauts this season that can one-hit KO any champion by charging into them head on. If you're someone who wants to rock an ultra aggressive playstyle that's actually also super effective for both solo legend, master lost sectors, and in a fire team for nightfalls as well, then look no further because this is the build for you. Peregrine Greaves got a massive buff with Season of the Wish and can now one-hit KO champions, and not only that but refund your melee charge for just damaging the champion, meaning you can go on an endless spree of meleeing enemies. The key for the entire build is making sure you have an overshield up, not only for survivability purposes but because our aspect, Offensive Bulwark, gives us bonus damage when we have an overshield active. So the newly buffed Peregrine Greaves gives us 1000% bonus damage against champions, mini bosses or tormentors, and then Offensive Bulwark puts in another 100% multiplicative damage. So it basically doubles your damage. All in all, this means you can hit for 22 times damage your normal melee with a simple shoulder charge, and you get your melee back instantly. It's a super aggressive but super rewarding playstyle. Now, one method of gaining an overshield is deploying your barricade and then you'll charge in, but what often happens is that as you charge in, you run out of your overshield as enemies are hitting you, and thus you lose that double damage which is often needed for the one-hit KO against stronger enemies. In higher level content, we need a way of making this much safer and much more reliable, and the way we do this is through our finisher, which grants us invisibility thanks to our fragment, but not only invisibility, because through our armor mods we also can get an overshield, which also, by the way, procs Offensive Bulwark, meaning we can now safely charge champions in higher level content, all the while being invisible and activating all our damage bonuses. Echo of Obscurity makes it so that when we use our finisher, we gain invisibility, and then Bulwark Finisher, the class item mod, makes it so that when we use our finisher, we gain an overshield, given that we have 3 or more armor charges. That's the core gameplay loop that allows you to go invisible, get an overshield, and bypass that over-reliance on your barricade. There's a lot more moving pieces to the build, so let's go over it in detail. For my super, I run Ward of Dawn, which is a great super for yourself if things go wrong in a panic moment, and for your teammates as well. I run Rally Barricade because it has a much shorter cooldown than Towering Barricade, meaning we can get our overshield quickly more often. Whatever lift you're comfortable with, Shield Bash, which is the core of the build, which also suppresses enemies on hits. I prefer Suppressor Grenade for this build because with this setup we're not relying on Vortex Grenade Weaken with our fragments, and Suppressor Grenade is great for taking out enemies from aggroing you for a short while as you charge in. I've already mentioned Offensive Bulwark, which doubles our melee damage, but it also causes our grenade to recharge faster and extends our overshield timer on a melee final blow, so you have some time to safely exit after charging in as well. Our second aspect is Bastion, which is what allows our barricade to grant us overshield to both ourselves and nearby allies. In terms of fragments, I run Echo of Domineering because our Shield Bash suppresses enemies, and then this auto reloads our equipped weapon and also creates a Void Breach. Void Breaches grant us Devour, which increases our survivability through Echo of Starvation, as well as Orbs of Power also doing this. I've already mentioned Echo of Obscurity, which grants invisibility, and then Echo of Persistence just increases our timers for both invisibility and overshield, which are core to the build. In terms of stat priority, the only requirement in my eyes for this build is 100 resilience, which not only provides 30% damage resist, which is going to be massive when you're charging in, but it also lowers your barricade cooldown, which is going to help you get your overshield more often. For your mod setup, the aim is to have multiple ways of becoming armor charged, which is going to help us gain an overshield when we use our finisher through our Bulwark Finisher mod. So on my helmet, I run 2 Siphon mods so that 2 of my weapons can generate Orbs of Power. On your gloves, the most important mod is Shield Break Charge, which gives you armor charge for breaking a matching combatant's shield. So look at the activities modifiers and make sure you have matching weapons, and then that will also dictate what Siphon mods you run. Heavy Handed also generates an Orb of Power on melee kills, and then I finished it off with Fastball. On your chest piece, make sure you run Charged Up so you can reach 4 stacks of armor charge, meaning on a finisher your overshield will last for longer. Then add on 2 resistance mods. On your boots, run stacks on stacks, so you get 2 stacks of armor charge per orb you pick up, then 2 insulation mods so you can get back your class ability quickly when picking up orbs of power. And then on your class item, the key mod is Bulwark Finisher, as I mentioned before, and then I run Proximity Ward, which gives us a temporary overshield for extra protection when we finish an enemy and we're not able to control our character during that animation. And then finally, I've added on Distribution to reduce all ability cooldowns when we pop our Overshield Barricade. Although there aren't any mandatory weapon requirements for this build as it's a melee based build, there are certain pairings which can make this build even stronger. You can use a Repulsor Brace weapon. One weapon I highly recommend using this season is Word of Crota, which not only gives you overshields which proc offensive bulwark, but this season is also a viable unstoppable weapon. Tractor Cannon is also another viable option available to you guys, which provides an additional 30% debuff on top. I've even heard some people talking about the exotic sword Heart Shadow, which will help you provide more invisibility for higher level content. So there you have it, my invisible Peregrine Greaves build, which if you pair with the right weapons for the activity, should have you blazing through it regardless if you're playing solo or in a team. Remember, this is a high risk, high reward strategy, but if you get the hang of it, you can really cut down on your times for both yourself and your team as you nuke champions instantly. I'm Mr. Ronit, and that's it for today. Peace out, guys.